KVNU Game Day continues with Aggie Call. Your chance to talk about today's game. Sponsored by Alpine Home Medical, Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, Les Olson Company, Jarek's Fine Jewelry, My Mattress, Elements Restaurant, Cache Valley Bank, Castelite, Daryl's Appliance, Advanced Fireplace and Stove, Cache Valley Ear, Nose and Throat, White Pine Funeral Home, S.E. Needham Jewelers, and LSS Insurance. KVNU Game Day with Al Lewis and John Russell.
Oh boy, the Aggies took a couple of bad whistles into the last few minutes and then got a beneficial whistle on maybe a little bit of a makeup call after the charge was called on Justin Bean with 14 seconds to go in the game after the Aggies had the steal and a 2-point game and a chance to go down and maybe grab the lead. Bean eventually did get 2 free throws out of it after the miss by Moore. But then they get the ball to Stevens. Colorado State runs down the floor. Stevens penetrates. They get to him. He kicks it off under the basket, and Jacobs makes a lay-in drive. And, again, basically a second to go in the game. 53-51. The final, the Aggies just can't win a close game, John. But, again, that one is really, I mean, the Aggies that looked like weren't going to make plays and all of a sudden got a chance to make plays. And, gosh, the Bean charge call's a tough one. Aggies had some time there. They might have been able to run and get something a little better than just trying to hurry to the basket right there and give CSU some more time and all. Heck of a game, though, but unfortunately, we're on the wrong end and we lose.
Yeah, once again, and you say a tough call on Bean. I'm going to go different on that.
A bad call.
Horrible call. So.
See, there's no doubt if you watch it, more leans, and it's, again, only gets side of his body. That's not taking much of a charge.
No, especially not at that point in this type of game. And but, you made a good point. Why didn't they pull it back and try and run a little more of a set play? But it is what it is, and once again, Aggie's on the short end of a close game.
And I've seen this officiating crew all my years in the league. They're not a good crew. There were guys that were much better in some of the earlier games today. Brill, Lehigh, and Holland's not good. Lehigh gave us a makeup call on that rebound. That's basically a no call at that point of the game. We're going to get the ball anyhow and go down, but he did give us a chance to get the tying Bean free throws, and then Colorado State scores at the end of the game. Jalen, I know as a former player, you go through. We just can't win a close game this year. I mean, we can't get the break. We can't get what we need. We can't get the stop at the right time. I mean, it looked like we did a lot of things in this game to have a chance to win it. And again, we didn't win the game.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Had our chances like we had. Neither team, it kind of turned into a defensive grinded out game. Neither team shot well. Obviously, from 3, it was really bad shooting. 2-pointers wasn't bad. We out-rebounded them by 7. Our assists looked good. We're good at moving the ball. Horvath and Bean did what they did, but we just didn't get a lot of production from other guys. And but we had our chances. Another close game. Bean actually steps up and makes those 2 big free throws to tie it. And, it's just that's just a heartbreak of a game. You're right there. You had your chances. Worst case scenario, you're hoping for overtime, and they get an layup pretty much at the buzzer, pretty much. And so, like we said, we kind of figured teams would be offensive minded, and it kind of turned into a defensive battle this game.
I mean, because really, Jalen, early in this game, it was like neither team could stop either side. And then all of a sudden, it's when the defense really started to stick in. And just think back in this game. Stevens, that one drive, the ball just barely snuck over the rim to go in on that late drive that he scored with 52 seconds to give them lead by 4 at that time. And then, hey, did Rylan Jones, after taking that shot, and you could tell he could hardly breathe there for a while after taking that shot from Roddy, Rylan came in and showed some real nails there in the last part of the game, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He came in and showed some toughness, made big plays, made big baskets. Was a good distributor all night. Like you said, it's tough. There's some big plays that both teams made in the game. You go back and you remember some games, and Stevens and Roddy both kind of banked in some shots where we played good defense.
Stevens made a bank shot in this game, too, a jumper besides that one that just barely got in late in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's hard because, like we said, we guarded them well. Sometimes they throw up some shots at the end of the shot clock, and sometimes they just happen to go in. Like I said, I don't know what happens in March, but it seems like there's a lot of hard shots that are made by players, and this is just another example of that.
Well, I guess this is when you make the hard shots and show you're a player, and And tonight, Colorado State, they got it. I thought the Aggies did a great job defensively, never allowing, especially Roddy, decent game for him. But
he never got going. He never really dominated the game, yeah.
What did you see there?
Yeah, I just thought we defended him well. He tried to break us down off the dribble. We were in the gap, so he couldn't get all the way to the rim. When he posts up, we threw a double team at him. And, we caused him to, turn into the double team a few times, turn it over out of it a few times. When he drove it, a few times we were able to poke it away because we're just standing in the gaps. I thought we did a good job. He had a few monster dunks and stuff like that. But like what me and Al touched on before the game, those are electrifying plays that swing the momentum. And we did a good job of every time that they had a big play like that, we would answer and, kind of slow down the momentum to make the game back and forth. So I thought our defense was good. Like we said, he banked in a tough one shot when he was falling down. Stevens banked in a shot. But at the end of the game, they still went to those two guys. And surprisingly enough, even though they didn't have that great of games, they still came up and made big shots for them as well.
Still produced when they had to. I always hate to blame the reffing, especially when you shoot one.
It's been tough this year, though.
It's been tough this year.
The calls in late games have just not gone our way at all.
But when you're 1 for 15 from beyond the arc, it's hard to. But it seemed to me like
at least we quit shooting from back there.
We did, which was good. But Jalen, it seemed like the reffing kind of ebbed and flowed. I'm okay with them being consistent one way or another. But it didn't seem like they were that way tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. Either you're going to be consistently good or consistently bad, and you don't want it to bounce up and down. And that's kind of what they were this game. They made a few good calls, but they made a few bad ones. That one on Bean at the end, I like what our team did. You press it, you have numbers. We had a 3-on-2 break, which you practice all the time in practice. And, he made the right read. He gave it to Bean. Obviously, Morris still sliding and leaning. I thought Bean tried to avoid him as well. To me, that's a block. But luckily, they made a makeup play on a call that kind of shouldn't be called towards the end of the game anyway. Like Al said, we were going to get the ball, but they makeup call. He gives us a chance. He makes both free throws. But yeah, there was a few select calls there that just, and I just feel like in a tournament setting, you just sometimes got to let some of the things go. Every time you're playing a physical sport, contact sport, every time that there's contact, it doesn't need to be a foul. Or, they go and look at the one where Roddy runs into Ryland and there's nothing there. They didn't call a foul. Yeah. Bean gets hit in the face by, Roddy's shoulder, elbow area, and they don't look at it. So it's like, I just want some consistency like you guys say. So.
And again, a key basket in this game, I thought, was we had them bottled up. Stevens airball dribbled to himself to make a lay-in out of a traffic situation. They didn't call a travel on that play. You're talking about, he used his arm against Bean on a fast break basket. He also did it against him on the one that was called. I mean, there was a lot of things maybe that could be looked at officiating-wise and all these things. But I did like, again, in this game, that we responded. We got the steal on Stevens. We got down the floor, even though we didn't make that play. We're making some plays towards the end to have a chance to win this close game. It's just unfortunate, again, that Utah State's season comes up this short and Colorado State moves on. Now, they're already in the tournament, and now this gets them into the semifinals against probably, San Diego State or Fresno. Fresno played a double overtime game last time. Who knows? Every single game in this tournament, Jalen, has showed you how good this league is and how close our team is. We keep saying it all year long, but we just can't get over the hump in these close games.
Yeah, our record would be totally different if we were to execute and produce in those close games. We just couldn't get over the hump. That's just how it goes sometimes. This game was one of our better ones where we did actually, like you say, make defensive plays, make free throws down the stretch. Obviously we just throw the three-point shooting out of the window. Both teams shot horribly from three. It kind of came down to an old-school basketball game of feeding the post and making reads out of the post, making correct cuts and stuff like that. And our team did a good job doing that. Thought the defense was on point. Like we said at the end of the game, that's just one of those plays where obviously Stevens is driving and you're going to help to him, and then we just didn't really help the helper quick enough. We were just one step late as he's laying it in. And it's like I said, it's a heartbreaking game. It turned into a defensive battle, and it's just a tough way to go out for sure.
So in your keys to the game, looking at those for Les Olson Company tonight, remember lesolson.com is your webpage to find out more about their free network assessment at Les Olson. Our two big scores, Horvath and Bean, had 32. Their big scores had 27. We lose by 2, but we outscored their big scores. But boy, again, there was Stevens, there was Roddy at the times, and Bean came up and did well as well. Horvath, the last score he had in the game was at the 5-minute mark. He ended up with 17 points and 8 rebounds as he made that dunk off the Ryland Jones pass. So, again, that was one of your keys to the game. But, again, Stevens, again, they put the ball in his hands. They didn't call a timeout. They made a play there at the end of the game with him.
Yeah, they did, put it in the hand of the player they trust. Knew, like I said, worst case scenario for them is if we stop them, we go to overtime, you play more basketball. Best case scenario, he makes a play happen, and he did. So, I like it. Sometimes when you call a timeout, Utah State gave us a chance to set up our defense, and they didn't want that to happen. And, sometimes you get the defenses scrambling, and Stevens beat him off the dribble. Like we said, it was just a little bit late on the helper, and they were able to produce it that way. So sometimes, not always calling a timeout in those situations can be beneficial as well. When the worst case scenario for them, if you're smart enough and take the last shot, is you just go into overtime.
So again, they keep them in check. They were below their averages with 14 and 13, and we were +5 with our two big scores. We're +5 on the second chance points, so we win the rebound battle tonight in this game as well, Jalen, and you thought that was going to be a key to the game. Against the zone, there were times in this game I thought early we carved it a little bit and got some things going. Their zone did bother us on a couple of possessions as they were switching in between the zone and the man. When they switched and we ended up having Stevens covering Horvath, we were able to take advantage of that with their man.
Yeah, it was. And I think, they switched their ball screens a lot with Moore and Stevens. So I think that's why they know they have to play a little bit more zone against us because Horvath and Bean and Bairstow, will take you into the post and post you up, and it's kind of a mismatch, and they know they have to double team us and then scramble out of that. But I thought we looked better against the zone than we had in the last few games where we played Colorado State. I thought we had those keys all checked off. I thought we did a really good job. We out-rebounded by 7. Oh, man, like we said, it just comes down to that play at the end. But we really did play Colorado State almost as perfect as you can and still came away with a loss. So that's why this one is such a hard one to deal with. It
really, really is. So, Jalen, what about the future? I talked to Justin Beam before the game, and he said it's going to be a really hard decision for him. He can play one more year. He loves it here. He loves what's going on here. He is making some money with the NIL stuff that a lot of guys have not been able to make, and he can probably make even more of that. But he could make more as a professional basketball player. He's married. He's turning almost the age where, 25 to 26. He's been around a long time. What do you think about his decision here as the basketball season ends?
Yeah, obviously if he wants to play professionally, his best bet is going to be to leave. They love young guys, but they'll also take a look at a guy like Bean because of the numbers he's put up. He's got a motor. He rebounds. He can shoot. His shooting percentages are way better. His best decision would definitely, if he wants to be play professionally and have a best chance, would be to leave this year. Whether that's in the NBA or overseas, he can make a lot of money anywhere. And if that's what his goal is, his best bet is definitely going to be to leave this year because obviously, he's not getting any younger, and the NBA is getting younger with some of these guys that skip over college now and just go straight to the G League and stuff like that. The league's just getting a lot younger. So I think this would be his best bet. He had good numbers this year, and, you'll have some teams, like I said, NBA and overseas teams definitely interested in taking a look at him for sure.
Okay, it looks like Colorado State is up at the dais, so I'm going to let you go, Jalen. Appreciate you this season very, very much. Thanks a lot, Jalen.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate everything that you guys let me do for you.
Oh, boy, we just love it. Thanks you very much, Jalen.
We asked, Coach, please.
Looks like here's Nico Medved from Colorado State after this win.
Proud of our guys for finding a way to win. We kind of par for the course, right? You look at the first 2 games today, came down to the last possession. We just didn't want to feel left out, right, today. And, you got to give a lot of credit to Utah State. That's a terrific team. And you look at the depth of our league, and they've got really good players. They're well coached, and we knew they came ready to play today. And but our guys dug in. They found a way to make enough plays down the stretch, and they've been in these games all year, and they never got rattled. And hey, sometimes in this time of the year, you just got to find a way to make one more play than your opponent, and that's what we did, and survive and advance. And we look forward to the semis tomorrow night.
We have questions for our student athletes, Isaiah Stevens and David Roddy.
Mike Brohart from CSU Rams. Isaiah, you'd gotten 2 big buckets on drives down the stretch. When you went back the third time, were you thinking pass, thinking that Utah State would close on you harder?
I was just trying to be aggressive and get downhill. So once I started to see the defense rotate over, we have a design cut when that happens, and I was just able to find an open man for a layup.
David, is that one of the biggest charges you think you've seen one of your teammates take this year when Kendall got that on Justin after that turnover?
Yeah, it was huge. Actually, I think 2 guys were trying to set a charge. So when I was trailing back, I was just thinking in my head, someone please set a charge. Because they didn't seem like they wanted a 3. So and they had a lot of time left on the clock. So, that's a huge charge from Mook, and we need him to take a lot more. So it's taking about 4 years for that.
Even he took one today. How about that? Good Lord, what's going on? Yeah.
For both players, Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated, what's it been like to go through this season with as many close, high-level games as you all have endured?
Man, it's great. It's what we needed for this moment right here. A similar one-possession game. We won some, we lost some. So for us to be in those big games, over the season in the non-conference as well as in the conference, it definitely prepares us well for this tournament and whatever tournament we'll be in next.
Carson with the Collegian. Roddy, you could really see the frustration on your face tonight. How did you alter this energy into the final stretch of the game?
Yeah, just try to go to the next play mentality. I'm a very passionate guy, so it sometimes bleeds out. I need to, do better on that. So, I just wanted to have that next play mentality and just make winning plays. Get rebounds as much as possible, as well as, directing my teammates wherever they need to be.
Stevens, you had 14 points going into tonight's game. How do you plan to use that energy into tomorrow's matchup?
It's a whole new game plan, whole new opponent. So can't really dwell on this one, even though we won. It's on to the next game, and we'll come with hopefully a better approach.
So I think, John, we've heard a little bit from what Colorado State had to say. And Nico Medved, very nice to Utah State. But again, they have been in a lot of close games where they've won. They did it to Utah State at Colorado State earlier in the season. And the Aggies still have been in every single one of these close games and not been able to pull it out, except the overtime at New Mexico.
Yeah, other than the one. And you look who made the plays. I mean, let's face it also, when you're playing teams that have star guys, Steven, one of their stars.
Shaver makes one shot against us and beats us. They go to EK, and he makes a play. He's basically a second-team all-conference guy, could have been a first-teamer. Stevens, second-team, first-team. So they're all guys who are in it and to win it. And Bean tried to make the drive to make the play, got the charge, but came back and did make 2 free throws with 12 seconds to go. Remember, I mentioned earlier, we didn't miss hardly a free throw at Colorado State until winning time late in the first game against them. And, of course, again, it hurt us in the second game when we were at home. We were missing all those free throws. But tonight we did make those 2, and we had a chance, and we didn't make the defensive stand.
But their star made the play. I mean, you look at Stevens, he didn't make the basket, but he drew the defense. As he said, they had a play, they have a play drawn up for that scenario. He was able to do the trick, and he did a great job. And really, the Aggies, at that point, when you've got like 3-4 seconds, your defense is going to collapse. You don't want to be in that situation where it's one-on-one. And you run that play 100 more times, you're probably going to have the same defensive rotation. They made the play they needed to.
So after the last media break, Stevens banks in a jumper. Roddy makes one of 2 free throws that gave us a chance, but Stevens drives barely. It goes in over the rim. We take the ball away from him. We get an offensive foul. Then we stop them, get the miss on the rebound, get the ball back, get the free throw, and then again, it's Stevens driving down, passing to Jacob. So Stevens makes all the plays there at the end of the game.
Kind of took over. But, the other thing is you really wonder mentally, what it does to you, because when Stevens banked that shot out, great defense. Bean was on him, had a hand in his face.
He just barely barely got that shot in over the rim, too. That's something, a bank shot and one barely that got over the rim. They're well-defended plays. We're on Stevens there at the end of the game where he had to give up the ball to somebody else,
But
too.
they make the play that they have to, and you have to wonder what's going through the Aggies' minds at that point. I hate to, again, focus on one play, but again, that was not a charge. That was a horrible, horrible call. But what it does is, again, where's the mindset? Great. They did come back. They got the free throws, but still, way too much time for
Bean would have shot his 2 free throws then to tie the game with 14 seconds. They still would have had the ball at the end and could have made the Stevens play. They still could have done the same thing.
And that was the tough thing. They still a lot of time.
All righty, so we will get the Aggies up here to Ryan Odom, and probably Bean, I would imagine, will come out and represent the Aggies. He usually has to
he's the guy.
After these close losses. But, what a season we have seen. And so close against these best teams in the league. And the only one we were able to beat was San Diego State. The rest of the teams at the top of the league, we couldn't beat them this year, and the Aggies lose and drop now to an 18-15 record. Still, net-wise, their ranking looks like good enough to be in the NIT somewhere. We'll wait and have to see on Sunday for that. And we'll be back with more Aggie Game Day, brought to you in part by Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning. Again, make sure you get a hold of them for your comfort needs all year round and your fireplace needs if you're building, too. Advanced Fireplace and Stove.
Girls, us guys are always trying to score some brownie points, but we need all the help we can get. So dropping some subtle hints is helpful, such as your favorite food is Italian, you love the color green, and you want the ring from Jarek's Fine Jewelry, the place with the bright green cars on 930 North Main Street. Okay, so it might not be so subtle, but that's okay. Remember, we need the help. Make it special, make it Jarek's. Now remember, just tell him it's the place with the bright green cars.
Hi, this is Rusty Allen with LSS Insurance. I get asked all the time, do I have to sign up for Medicare? Check out our website, lssins.com, or call 752-9493. Medicare doesn't have to be confusing. We have the answers to all your questions and will help each step of the way. With decades of experience, we'll guide you through each step. There is no cost to work with LSS Insurance. We make Medicare easy. Call 752-9493.
Since 1896, couples throughout Utah have shopped S.E. Needham Jewelers for their diamond engagement ring. We offer our integrity price guarantee on a beautiful selection of unique, high-quality diamond engagement rings. Gals, you'll love our rings, and guys, you'll love our prices. We price our diamonds at internet pricing. Review the web and come see, hands-on, our beautiful selection. Shop and compare. Get S.E. Needham quality at internet pricing, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
West Point Dairy Products at Hiram is hiring. West Point Dairy Products has been manufacturing high-quality butter for over 25 years in Cache Valley. They're currently expanding and want you on their growing team. West Point Dairy Products offers competitive wages for entry-level positions starting at $18 per hour, full benefit packages, double time on Sundays, a $2,000 sign-on bonus, and tremendous opportunities for growth. For immediate consideration, call Express Employment Professionals at 435-213-9595.
KVNU Game Day continues with Aggie Call. Your chance to talk about today's game. Call 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
And again, I think we'll probably get Jalen Moore back against if we play an NIT game probably, and so I had to abruptly leave Jalen, and I do appreciate him so much for his insights and his basketball stuff, and he knows how it feels to go through these games. They beat Colorado State in a tournament game when they'd had no rights to beat them. The transfer from Arizona, Bajareno, their guard or what he was, he transferred there. He went nuts, and he got a technical foul when they were up by 7 going to the last minute and a half. Somehow the Aggies got in overtime. Jalen made a 3, as I remember, and another drive, and then we won in overtime against them. So, I mean, it's happened sometimes in close games. This year, not one single close game other than the overtime win against New Mexico. So Colorado State goes to 25-4. Aggies drop to 18-15. Final score, again, if you're just tuning in, 53-51. I don't know if I mentioned the score. Again, as Stevens was able to hit Jacobs with that pass for a lay-in, basically at the end of the game. James, you've been a nice caller all season long. What have you got on your mind tonight, James, other than a disappointing Aggie loss?
Oh, thanks, Al, for taking my call. I do have a lot, so just cut me off at any time, okay?
Well, the only thing that would cut you off is if the players or the coach shows up for the post game. Okay, right now.
All right, good deal. Horvath, Bean, Bairstow, those three guys really played good tonight. I wish we could have got a little more production out of the guards tonight, but I was, coming down there at the end. Again, talking about some of the fouls, questionable. That Bairstow, I loved how he had a couple shots. They just didn't finish, right? They just
Bairstow shot the one a little bit too hard, and the other one, he's shot his shot. He's getting knocked down on the play. He's falling down. It's a basketball play. I don't know how they called that foul to give Roddy a free throw. There's no way he fouled on that play. He's tried to shoot a shot, and he's fallen down. He's got to go down somewhere, So
Exactly. I agree with you. So I wanted to say that because it was like a minute and a half left. He took that shot. That should have been a foul against Roddy and not Bairstow. That was terrible.
If anybody, yeah.
And then, talking about fouls, I so frustrated. That foul against Bean, it was not. That was a terrible call. Terrible call. He wasn't set. He was moving in. He didn't have the body there. It was interesting. I listened to the commentators on CBS Sports after. The one guy, he just said that was the most terrible foul call I've ever seen. And then he made a really nice statement. He complimented Bean because he said if it had happened to me, I would have been up shouting just as angry. But he said give credit to Bean. He was calm. He came back and he made those two free throws. But I just thought that was a interesting comment by the commentators complimenting Bean for what he did and talking about what a terrible call that was.
Okay, that's interesting. And to be honest, then we get the makeup call from a really poor official in Sean Lehigh that gave us a chance for Bean to finally get his free throws. So justice was eventually served to that whole thing. But it did take off just a little more time in the game, about 2 seconds, I guess, or 3 seconds or whatever it was, as it turned out, half of that. So okay. Oh, James, they just had the coach leave, so our guys will be coming in. Anything else real quick?
No, I just, during the show, if you guys can kind of talk about next year, what your thoughts are about the team next year, what we're going to have. And
I was going to try to get into that with Jalen, and then all of a sudden they brought in Colorado State to do the post game there. I was going to try to do that. But again, Justin Bean, of course, will be the big key. But there is some recruiting to be done. Utah State needs to get strength inside better than they've got with Zapala and with Dorius. They've still got to get somebody better. Horvath is done, so we know that. And we know Bean is probably done. Or, we'd figure with where he's at in his life. We'll see. But, again, they're going to have to do that. And we still need an explosive, consistent shooter on the outside that you can count on.
We do.
We absolutely need that. Absolutely. Okay, Coach Odom's there, so I got to go. Okay? Thanks, James. Appreciate you for the season. And, again, maybe we got the NIT. We should have the NIT or some postseason coming up, I would imagine, as well. So we got Ryan Odom, the head basketball coach of the Aggies, and it looks like Justin Bean is the other one that was in there. Again, Aggies lose 53-51 in another disappointing game. And so we have Coach Odom and Justin up there. It looks like they're introducing them now, and they're giving the instructions to the media about muting the cell phones and talk to the player after the coach and all of that, and then they'll let the coach have his first comments. Here we go.
And who you're representing. We'll begin with an opening comment from our coach. Then we'll take questions for our student athlete, who will then be dismissed to the locker room, and then we'll finish up with questions for the coach. So, Coach, your opening statement, please.
Yeah. I just want to give credit to Colorado State, Coach Bedved. I thought it was a really good college basketball game overall. Points were hard to come by. Defense was pretty solid. The intensity was, in what you would want, in a tournament, setting. I wrote something on the board before the game. We always have kind of, a few things that we kind of highlight. And one of the things that we wrote on there, connectivity, execution, determined, these are all words that we use from time to time, that we want our players to kind of emulate or show as they play the game. I think you could certainly see all of those, today and from both teams. And then the last thing I wrote was go for it. And, you know, it's weird when you're in a hotly contested game like that. It goes right down to the wire, and there's basically a last-second shot. You know, the emotions are really high, and sometimes anger can come in. Sometimes, you know, a lot of these things can pop up that aren't very productive. And for me, I was eerily calm, honestly. I think that's the term that I used with the players. And the reason that I was eerily calm is because they did everything that we asked them to do all season. They went for it all season. And that was really all that mattered. You can't control the results and how things end, you know, in a given game, but you can control your effort, your attitude, and how you play for one another and your love for one another. And this team certainly opened its arms, you know, to our staff, you know, when we first got here, you know, to Utah State from back east. And, you know, it starts with Justin. What an amazing example of, you know, what college basketball is supposed to be all about. Great student, great family man, loves his immediate family. He cherishes his wife. He loves his teammates. He comes to work, all right, in our program every single day, and he sets the example of how a Utah State player should behave, how a Utah State player should respond when you don't get what you want. I didn't cry in there.
Oh, you did it.
Talking about him. He's just a special guy, and he's not the only one. He's not the only one. And, you know, I hate that we're not going to continue on in this tournament, but we'll see what else is out there for us. We'll wait and let the chips fall, you know, as they may. But I'll turn it over to Justin.
Okay. Questions for Justin?
Justin, Jacob Nielsen, KSL.com. Left it out on the court tonight. Just kind of what are you feeling right now?
Yeah, a lot of emotions, obviously. Felt like there was a lot of lead changes there late in the second half, just really back and forth. But I was proud of our guys, obviously, for how we competed. Certainly we left it all out there, you know, on the glass. We were crashing the glass really hard there at the end. Both teams were. And ultimately shots just didn't fall like we wanted to, especially from three. But like I said, that's basketball, and we have to live with the results and move on and learn from it. And like I was, you know, telling the guys in there, the basketball it's just a game at the end of the day. But everyone that came in there and played and competed, you know, they treated it like it was more than that. They treated it like it was their life they were playing for. And so I'm just proud of the effort from everyone that got out there and the guys that were on the bench. And fortunately, we didn't get the win, but that's just basketball. So.
Okay, over here.
I think it's you, Sean. Okay.
Yeah, Justin, Jake Hatch from KSLSports.com. I just wanted to ask you to take us through that final few, I guess, sequences in the final minutes of that game.
Yeah, it was happened really fast. Seemed like everyone was trying to talk to the refs about a call, and then the ball was being thrown in, and so you didn't really have time to adjust. But yeah, when we got the steal down two, first thing I thought was just get up the court, sprint, and try and get to the rim, get a layup. Saw two guys come in front of me, and I tried to split them, and I thought, you know, I had the angle, and thought they were late, but again, that's just basketball. You can't blame the refs, obviously. And so then we got got a rebound off the free throw block out, and was able to hit those free throws. And again, we were set, we were ready. They were coming at us, but thought we had five guys in front ready to play defense, and they made a great play. Still don't know exactly how it happened. I haven't watched it yet, but credit to them. They got a bucket when they needed to and made some big plays down the stretch.
Sean Harrison with the Herald-Journal. Justin, can you talk a little bit about this game just back and forth? It just seemed like every possession just became so important. I mean, the lead changed back and forth. How do you, as a player out there, go through those up and down emotions?
Yeah, well, Brock Miller actually in the locker room, talking about the season as a whole, he said you can't get too high and you can't get too low, in terms of a season. But I thought, in a game like that, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. You just got to move on to the next play, and I thought we did that. I thought we were connected out there. We were huddling after timeouts or loose balls, and we were connected. And we battled, and it was, like you said, an up and down game. But that's just a quality opponent out there, and two great teams that were just fighting for their lives.
Jake Ellis, Cache Valley Daily. Justin, you passed 1,000 career rebounds today. You're the third ever Aggie to do it. How does that feel?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I wasn't aware really. I'm just trying to play the game, but that's a really awesome accolade for sure. Very humbling. There's a lot of Aggie greats that have gone before me, certainly, and so just to be in that company is an honor. So I'm just grateful.
Obviously, you're going to want some time to think about it, but can you tell us about what your plans for your future are right now?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of speculation out there, and I mean, that's going to be a conversation that my wife and I, obviously have, and obviously involving Coach Odom, as much as we can. That's going to be something that we discuss for sure. But while I've got him up here, I just can't say enough about Coach Odom and who he is as a person. And I've only played for him for one season, but I feel like I've known him a lifetime, and that's just the type of person that he is. He welcomes all of us, with open arms. He always talks about how we brought him or welcomed him to Utah State, but he really is that father figure, that example that we needed in a transition. I've been through 3 transitions, 3 different coaches, and it can be hard. There's a lot of uncertainty, but the minute I met him, I just knew that Utah State was in good hands, and I still feel that way. Regardless of what comes next, for me, for everyone else on our team. And so it speaks to the type of person he is, the coach he is. He's helped me see the game in a whole new way, and he's helped me transform into, quite honestly, a completely different player than I've been. And so while maintaining, the things that have got me to where I am. So can't thank him enough for that. Just had to say that.
Okay, one final question for our athlete.
Mark Greenwood with the Utah Statesman. Justin, 1 for 15 from beyond the arc tonight. You had that only one that you hit. What was it about the three-point shot tonight? Was it something Colorado State was doing, or just kind of walk me through what happened with that tonight?
Yeah, I think, I thought in the first half, I thought we were a little hesitant at times. I thought our spacing wasn't ideal, and they're a good team defensively. They like to shrink the gaps and plug it up, and so I thought we could have been a little better spaced, and didn't get as great of looks as we wanted, as wide open looks as we wanted. And then there was others that we got good looks and they just didn't fall. And so, again, it's a little bit of both. Thought they did a good job, making it hard for us. But we left some out there too that were pretty good looks. So.
Just want to say it's 53-51. Colorado State beat the Aggies. Last second shot at the buzzer after it's a tie game going down the stretch. Justin made 2 free throws late, and there will be more interview questions now here for Coach Ryan Odom post-game. You're listening to Game Day on KVNU.
I can hear you. Yeah, unless you just need that. Yeah. I mean, you probably saw my reaction, didn't you, a couple of times? It is what it is. That's basketball. And, the bottom line is the defense was good on both sides. I mean, they did it to us, too. They got us in at the end of shot clock, and they'd block it, and all of a sudden the ball's out of bounds, and, it's heading the other direction. And so we had several of those possessions, and they did as well. And I think the switching has a lot to do with that. You know, both teams were switching pretty effectively. And to kind of piggyback off of your question in terms of the three-point shooting, I think that can be a factor too, right? And so when you do finally get an open one, it's like, oh boy, I got to make this one, you know, because I'm finally open. And, you know, I just thought both teams did a really nice job of keeping bodies in front and forcing hard shots. We were having success going inside, and, you know, we continued to try to do that. And obviously they focused there as well in terms of getting Roddy the ball in and around the basket. Stevens was a difference maker, you know, in terms of his penetration and timely plays. But, you know, I think, you know, it was a hotly contested game, right? It was right down to the wire. So that's what you want.
Then, you know, we got to ask you about the charge call on Justin with 14 seconds left. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a block, obviously, but it didn't go that way. And, you know, I don't really have any, you know, feeling one way or another, you know, until I go back and really look at it. But there are calls every game, right? You know, like I make bad calls on, you know, in terms of what we're going to run for a play or a defensive call. It's just, it is a human game. And, you know, you very easily could have gotten it correct, but I won't know until I go back and look at it. And, you know, just like we go back after games and check things out and what we did as a team from an execution standpoint on offense and defense, the refs do the exact same thing. They go back and look at it and they say, here, I missed this one. I got this one right. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, the bottom line is we still ended up tied, right? We had a chance to win. We needed to get a stop. We didn't get the stop we needed there in order to get it into overtime.
Jay Catch, KSLSports.com. Coach, I just wanted to ask you, you've played 3 games against the Rams, and all 3 of them have been single possession, 2-possession games. What is it about these 2 teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think what is it about the 2 teams? I think both teams have really good players, right? Roddy, Bean, like 2 really talented guys, and they're a little bit different, right? And then the guards, right? I mean, like Kendall Moore makes big plays in Logan. Stevens made some really big plays, you know, today when they needed it and really stepped up. And we've had other guys do that at times as well. And, you know, I thought Sean was you know, tremendous today. And I know he's not going to feel that way because he missed a couple of shots there at the end when we went to him. But, I mean, his growth as a player has been, you know, fun for me to watch. Obviously, Justin's as well. But I think Colorado State has a great team. They know how to win at the end of games. And it's not just us. Like, they've won some really close games, you know, and other ones as well. The last game against Boise, right? It was right down to the wire. And so, you know, we're I think, as you look at our conference right now, and certainly I don't know what's going on out there, but, you know, the previous game, Wyoming and UNLV, I mean, there have been a lot of games that have been right down to the wire. And it's a really good conference this season. I think it's more about that than it is two teams matching up.
Coach, last night you had 5 guys in double digits. Tonight, just 2, you know, kind of relied on 2-3 main scorers. What was it tonight that just made it difficult to get everybody involved?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just their switching, you know, can be a factor with that, right? Because you're not able to kind of get them in a scrambled situation because they're keeping bodies in front. And you know, I think that's probably the biggest thing. You know, points were hard to come by, you know, for both teams. And so when you're in a game where you're in the 50s, like, you're not going to have a well balanced, you know, stat line, you know, from everybody.
And then obviously this game didn't go how you wanted it to, but kind of taking a step back, you know, your first year in Logan, kind of your overall impression, and, you know, you're losing some big pieces next year possibly. What's kind of your outlook and your expectation going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the expectation is to you know, have a great summer, right, and have a great spring even before that. Like, we always talk about what's the next right thing to do, and there's a lot of stuff that's involved with that, right? I'm blessed to be the coach at Utah State. I mean, I walked into a locker room. It reminds me in a lot of ways, and I've been fortunate to do this. This is the third time now. And I've been blessed at each stop. When I first went to Lenore-Ryan, I've got 2 guys on my staff that are here. One's a GA and one's player development. They both played for me at Lenore-Ryan. And I walked into a locker room there, much like this one. It reminds me, very similar, how diligent, the overall group is and caring. And then going into UMBC, we had some talent, but they had never won. And so it's kind of the opposite of this, situation. But we had awesome kids. And so I've been very fortunate. And, I look forward to, certainly whatever happens in the next few days, whatever happens, what's the next right thing to do? Is it preparing for whoever they match us up with, if we're fortunate enough to be in postseason, or if it's nothing? And we'll deal with whatever comes our way. With maturity and with a positive attitude. And then, once the season is officially over, all right, then we'll begin to plan and prep and figure out, all right, where can we get a little bit better? And that's really what it's all about. How can we continue to mentor these kids the right way? Some are going to be moving on and taking on new challenges, right, like a Brandon. So my responsibility, it's not over. Like, I've got to keep mentoring him and helping him through this next step of his career and where he goes. Obviously, Justin's got a big decision on his hands. He's really, elevated his play, and people notice around the country, right? And not just in college, beyond. And so, we'll begin to have all those types of meetings once the season's officially over, and then, we'll kind of figure out what our needs are going to be. No different than last year. It is different because I won't be new at that point, but all of us, we begin to kind of figure out, all right, it's all about putting the pieces together and getting them a little bit better, developing them.
Okay. Final question, please.
Jake Nielsen, KSL. Coach, you've been on both ends of the spectrum in terms of just heartbreaking games in March and then exciting games in March. For you, like an approach like this to such a heartbreaking defeat, is this something you put in a box and just kind of move on from it, or is it something that kind of sticks with you and you'll remember this game and kind of use it to fuel you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we all coaches remember the losses more than they remember the great wins, right? I mean, especially the retired ones. I was sitting at dinner one time I'll make it quick, but I was sitting at dinner one time with my father and Denny Crum, and there was a bunch of coaches in there. Boeheim sitting there at the table. It's at Final Four. And, they were just chatting about old games, and Louisville played Wake Forest back in 1990, whatever. And Denny Crum looked over and he said, yeah, that still was a walk on Duncan. You're just sitting at the dinner table talking about it, you know what I mean? So they remember, like coaches remember the losses, and it does drive you, all right? It does drive you, and hopefully it pushes you to, future success. And disappointments, there's no greater example of that than the one that we were involved with at UMBC, right? They were disappointed after that game, right? But they used it as fuel, and it took them on an incredible journey, the next season.
Okay. Well, we thank.
There's Coach Ryan Odom, and again, John, we have a terrific man who's in charge of our basketball program. And again, whatever decisions or calls or whatever have been made one way or other, the players, you can tell, love him. Mm-hmm. He loves the players back, and he's sincere in his beliefs and what he is trying to do with his program, and he's grateful to be here, and I think he really wants to build and keep this place where it has been as far as a winning program.
Yeah, just really touched by his emotion and the things he had to say, and you heard Justin in his interview kind of turn the conversation away from the game and just make sure that he knew how grateful he was for him. And it's a great program here at Utah State. Folks like you that have been here for longer than I have seen amazing things happen with this program, and it's something that I think can continue to be built. He's got a lot of work to do because there are a lot of pieces. I'll be stunned if Bean comes back. Love to have him back. I hope he does. Mm-hmm. But I'll be stunned if he's gone. Horvath is gone. Brock Miller's done. Idle Rock's done. So maybe. So a lot of pieces to fill. But when you have somebody that has a passion for the program, for a passion what they do, you've got to appreciate it. And I think just what you've heard from the players say about him, what he said about his players in the program, I think we're in good hands.
Again, Utah State lost on a last-second shot after they had tied the game with Justin Bean's free throws again with 12 seconds to go. Colorado State didn't call timeout. They had one. They brought it in and probably attacked and got Stevens, and he passed it to the right guy. Jacobs makes the lay-in, and they win the game 53-51 over the Aggies. We'll recap more. We've got the phone lines available if you want to talk about what you just heard, you want to react. Again, close game losses are a big deal. I feel horrible. We couldn't win a close game this year, and that scared me when we got to the end of this game, down to the end, because we hadn't won close games against these best teams, and we didn't do it again. We had made some plays in this game in the last few minutes, even though it didn't look like we were going to. We did, and the text line's available too at 339-0321, along with the phone number 753-KVNU. So it's game day on KVNU. We'll take a break, and we will have more. And, again, we would figure where Utah State, they were 60 in the net rankings today. You got to be in the NIT eventually after they take the first 68 teams into the tournament, and then the next, 32 go to the NIT or whatever. You got to think you're going to be in there somewhere. I don't know if they'll be seeded as a home team or a road team or how it'll work out, but that'll be all decided on Sunday night after the tournament is set. And we'll be back with more Game Day on KVNU after this.